So I'm going to go through a few of the questions which were set in yesterday's lesson. So this first one of 14C.1, we're multiplying this matrix by this matrix here. Now, the first thing you should always be doing is checking the order of the two matrices. So this is one row, two columns, therefore the order is 1 times 2. And then this matrix order is 2 times 1. Since it's 2 rows, 1 column. Now, since this value and this value are equal, that means that we can do the matrix multiplication, and our resulting matrix will be determined by these two values. So the resulting matrix will be a 1 times 1 matrix. So we start off by going this value multiplied by this value here. So we go 3 times 5 plus this value times this value here, which is -1 times 4. Therefore we get 15 plus -4, which is essentially 15 minus 4, which gives us 11. And question 2 asks us to show that the sum of w, x, y, and z is given by this matrix multiplication here. So here we go again. Again, this matrix has order 1 by 4. This matrix has order 4 by 1. Since those two values are equal, we can do the multiplication. So I start off by going this value multiplied by this value here. So w times 1 is just w, plus this value times this value here is just x, and y times 1 is just y, plus z times 1 is just z. So you can see that that matrix multiplication there is simply the sum of each of those values. Then part B asks us to represent the average of w, x, y, and z in a similar way. Now, to find an average of 4 values, you'd have to add up each of the values and then divide them by the number of values there are, being 4. So the average of those values could be written as so. B, the average, is equal to w plus x plus y plus z divided by 4. And if we want to divide that by 4, essentially we could also just multiply it by a quarter. Would be doing the same thing. Multiplying this by a quarter is the same as dividing that all by 4. So let's use a matrix multiplication to show this. So if I wanted to do some type of multiplication, I could have a matrix which has w, x, y, and z. So the order of that matrix is a 1 by 4. And then, since that's a 1 by 4, this matrix here will have to be a 4 by 1, and each of these values is going to be a quarter. So when I do this matrix multiplication, like I said, this is a 1 by 4, this is a 4 by 1. These values are the same, therefore we can do this multiplication. So I go this value times this value. So a quarter times w is a quarter w, plus this value times this value, which is going to be a quarter x, plus this value times this value is a quarter y, plus this value times this value is a quarter z. Now there's a common factor of a quarter, so if I was to take a quarter out of each of those products, I'd be left with w plus x plus y plus z, and you can see that that is clearly the same as that. So I've shown that the average can be written using this matrix here. In question 3, we are asked to write we're asked to write quantity matrix Q and a price matrix P. So we have to look at the information that they've given us. They've told us that Lucy's bought 4 shirts, 3 skirts, and 2 blouses. So those are going to form our quantity matrix, and then these are the prices respectively, so they're going to form our price matrix P. So I'll start by writing our quantity matrix. So question 3. Our quantity matrix Q is given by, let's see how many pieces of clothing Lucy's bought. So we've got 4, 3, and 2. So 4, 3, 2. And then the cost matrix. Remember, if this is a column, then the cost matrix, because eventually we're going to have to multiply these, will have to be a row. So they have called it price matrix P. So P will be equal to 27, 35, and $39. So we've done part A. We've written down a quantity matrix Q and a price matrix P with this data in it. Now part B asks us to show how to use P and Q to determine the total cost. So to use these matrices to determine the total cost, essentially we're going to have to multiply them, because if she bought 4 shirts at this price, if we multiply that by that, that will tell us the total cost of the shirt. Then we could do the same with the skirts and the same with the blouses, and then add all of the costs together, and that will give us the total cost. So the multiplication of these matrices that I'll have to do will be given by total cost is equal to PQ. Now notice that I've written P before Q. That's because when we're doing these matrices multiplications, we always have to have a row matrix in front of a column matrix. So P is given by this matrix here, and Q is given by this matrix here. So we can check the order to make sure that I can actually do this multiplication. This is a 1 by 3, and this is a 3 by 1. Therefore, those two values there are equal, so I'm all good to do the multiplication. So it'll be 27 times 4 plus 35 times 3 plus 39 times 2. And then it's just a matter of simplifying this, and you should find that it comes out to 291. Therefore, the cost of Lucy's clothes is $291. Always good to finish a word question with a statement answering their question. So we'll leave that video there, and I'd like you to have a go at any remaining questions that you haven't yet done.